channel. I'm Huck. Today we are talking about Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. So this is the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which is the final trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings. I'm getting so close to the end. So this is like the 14th book in the realm of the Elderlings. So yeah, at this point, this is pretty much just going to be a spoiler. I don't know if it's even really a discussion. I just wanted to talk about some of my thoughts and feelings about it. If you want to see some non-spoiler thoughts, I did vlog while I was reading this, so I will link that vlog below. So this is going to be a lot of similar content, but just a little more spoilery than that, and kind of all consolidated into one video instead of spread out across the vlog. But I have done reviews for discussions for every either series or book so far, so I felt like I should make a dedicated video for this one as well. Sometimes I have tried to structure these a little bit more, but this one we're just gonna chat about my thoughts and feelings. So let's just get into it. So we start out with this. I actually don't know how many years since the last time we saw Fitz it's like 10 to 20 years later, I think. It might be more like 10 or 15 years. But he has been living with Molly. They are staying at, is it Withy Woods, which is the estate that Patience owns, and that technically belongs to Nettle, but Fitz as Tom Badgerlock is like the caretaker or steward for. But Nettle is off being part of the royal coterie. So Fitz and Molly living at Withy Woods, and Molly, like a normal human, is aging, but Fitz, because of some of the magic stuff that has been done on him in previous books, isn't really aging. So as Molly is aging, he still looks like he's, I think, like 35 or something like that. But at the beginning of this, Molly finds out that she is pregnant, and everyone thinks that she is like hallucinating being pregnant, but then turns out that she's right, and she has their daughter Bee, who is a new point of view character that we get in this book, which I really enjoyed. So that is my little synopsis of where we are, to catch up my own brain as where we're starting out the story. And overall, I'm just gonna say I enjoyed this more than I was expecting to. I know that I generally enjoy Hobb's books, but this one was just more fun to me than a lot of other ones that I've read from her, and I think that there are a few different reasons, which I'll get into in a little bit. The first thing though that I wanted to talk about was the situation with Molly. Because Molly, I'm there was somehow both too much and too little Molly in this book. First of all, I felt like there is too much Molly just because I don't like her. I don't care about her as a character. I don't think that she is written particularly well. Although Hobb has many strengths as an author, I don't think that romance is one of them, and I really don't like the way that the Fitz-Molly romance was written. If you've watched my discussion of Fool's Fate, you might know that the way I think things should have ended there is I don't think Bert should have died. I think that he should have survived. He should have gone back to Molly, and Fitz should have just done something else with his life, because I don't think that their romance is very compelling, and I don't care about them getting together, so that wasn't satisfying to me, and I think that it would have been more satisfying for Fitz to just figure something else out to do with his life. I don't know. So I was not excited about seeing their relationship as it has progressed, and I just don't care about her character. So it's too much time with Molly. I am bored and I don't care about this. But also, I feel like there is too little Molly, because part of my not caring about her and getting bored with their relationship is because I don't think that we didn't have enough time to get attached to her and their relationship. Because as a character, she pretty much showed up for like a very brief time in the very first trilogy. She was there for like one book, and then she disappears. Fitz pines after her for years, but like very intermittently. We just know that it's kind of in the back of his mind. He like feels bad. And then at the end of Fool's Fate, they get together. And then it just like jumps, however, like 10 to 15 years into the future, and it's like, yep, and now they've been living together and in love for however many years. So we never really get to spend time with like getting to know Molly as a character, and then we don't get to see them like rebuild their relationship after being apart for so many years. So I'm like, at what point was I supposed to start caring about her character or getting invested in this relationship? Because I had no time in which to do that. So yeah, I was like both too much and too little Molly in this book. But one of the characters I did really enjoy was the inclusion of Bee as a point of view character. One, I just think it was great to have another perspective other than Fitz, and two, I just really liked Bee as a character. I think that she was a really interesting perspective. I just really enjoy her point of view a lot. I also am kind of like, why do I find Bee relatable for some reason? Then I'm like, what does that say about me that I find Bee very relatable in comparison to a lot of the other characters? But I just found her to be a more interesting, compelling character that I wanted to follow. I wanted to know what was going on in her life. And I don't know why that is in comparison to some of the other characters in this book. Maybe it is because I found her more relatable. I don't know. Although most of the time I don't feel like I have to find a character relatable in order to like or be interested in them. But one of the things that a lot of times when I read Hobbs' books, I think her characters are very interesting and I enjoy seeing the character work that she does, but I don't always like them or care about them that much. But Bee was an exception that I was like fully on board for Bee as a character. I really hope that I continue to like her as the series goes on. But I just found her to be a much more compelling character that I actually like really wanted to know what was going to happen to her. I also just really liked having another perspective, because in like the Fitz books, we only really get Fitz's perspective, and honestly I don't love Fitz that much. He's okay. I find him very frustrating a lot of the time. In the first trilogy, I felt like his character was very flat, and then as in the second trilogy about Fitz, I really enjoyed that his character, I feel like, did get more personality and like nuance to him, which I liked, but I've never like loved Fitz that much. But I really liked seeing his character from an outside perspective. There's especially the scene in which Molly dies. You know, I found we got to read that scene from Bee's point of view, and for some reason I just found that much more impactful than having read it from Fitz's point of view. Like, we have seen Fitz grieve in many situations because terrible things have happened, lots of people have died. We have seen him grieve many times. I think that this was the saddest time to me that I have seen him grieve, and it's not because I care about Molly. It is, I really think, because we saw his grief from Bee's perspective, from an outside perspective, and for some reason I just found that hit much harder to me, which I feel like is kind of counterintuitive, because I personally would assume that being in the perspective of the character who is grieving, not that Bee wasn't grieving, but just specifically talking about Fitz's grief, I would assume that being in his perspective would be the much more like sad or intense experience, because you're kind of experiencing it with them. But for some reason I just found it much more like I don't know, much more intense to like see his grief from an outside perspective. So that's just an example that I thought his character was much more interesting and likable from the outside. Maybe I just find his thought process annoying. I don't know. But I also really liked their kind of father-daughter against the world dynamic. It was interesting to see Fitz, you know, being a father. Like, he has had very much like a father figure relationship to many other characters in the past, but it was interesting to see him having that father role from the perspective of the daughter instead of from Fitz's perspective. So anyways, I loved having Bee's point of view, and I think that's one of the things that really made me enjoy this book more than a lot of the other ones that I have read of the Fitz books. One of the other things that I really loved, that I think is part of why I really enjoyed this one, was that there was very little plot in this book. It was really just character and vibes, you know? This book, in comparison to a lot of other books from her, it just felt much like smaller in scope. It felt kind of like domestic and was about like the little dramas of their lives, you know, especially the parts that were from Bee's point of view, where it was just about her like growing up, being bullied, learning how to stand up for herself, new people coming to live with them, and her, you know, not liking it, her figuring out how to relate to her father, like all of these just like little things about their lives. And I just really enjoyed that. It also had a lot about like, you know, Fitz and Bee's father-daughter relationship. Just, that's the kind of stuff that I really like, you know? I like stories that are very small scope like this and really focus on the characters. I think it also really worked for me because the things that I like best about Hobbs' books are really like, I enjoy her writing a lot. I really like or I think her characters are very interesting, and I enjoy seeing the character work that she does and the way that she builds like character and relationships, and I just generally kind of like being in this world. The place where I kind of always run into trouble with Hobbs' books are the plots. Like, I a lot of times don't like the way that she plots her books and the choices that she makes for plots. But this one was like no plot, just vibes, you know, or no plot, just characters. And I was having a great time. I was like, this is exactly the kind of Hobbs book that I want. And I think that's part of why, like, right at the end of the book, I didn't enjoy like the last little bit of the book, because it started getting a little bit more into a plot. It started, you know, setting up what is the plot going to be for the rest of this trilogy, right? I saw somebody else's review on Goodreads who described this book as like a 600-page prologue to the rest of the series, which I think is a very apt description, but I loved it. And yeah, once it got into the part where it started really setting up what the plot was going to be, I was just like, no, I don't want things to happen. I don't want there to be a plot. I just want them to live at Withy Woods forever and nothing really to happen other than like, oh no, a new person that we don't like is here and there's drama with them or something like that, you know? Like, oh my god. Lant and is Shun her name? I hated both of them so much. But like, that's the level of drama that I want in this book, is just like two annoying people show up and then Fitz and Bee have to deal with it. That's the plot that I want in this book. I was kind of surprised that the Fool is like barely in this book. That he only really comes in at the end, and I was kind of expecting him to be like more a part of it, because it is called Fool's Assassin and it is the Fitz and the Fool series trilogy, and I just was like, what, where is he? And he just kind of like showed up right at the end. There are some things about this, like there's the prophecy about like the, is it the lost son or the forgotten son or something like that, which I kind of am like, I feel like is very obvious, and yet that makes me second guess myself as to like, am I just imagining that it is obvious that this prophecy is about Bee? Because at a certain point I was getting frustrated that I was like, guys, B is obviously one of the white prophets. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And 2, like this prophecy is clearly about her. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I will be proven wrong, maybe it is not obvious, you know? But I was getting a little bit frustrated at the end, being like, oh my god, guys, just like put 2 and 2 together, it's not that hard. But I understand why from their perspectives it would not be obvious, because like, you know, from the perspective of the reader, it felt very obvious. Anyways, that I think is everything that I had to say about this. But yes, overall, I really enjoyed Fool's Assassin. I gave it 4 stars. This might be one of my favorite like books from the realm of the Elderlings, just because I was like, no plot, perfect. Anyways, I would love to know what were your thoughts on this book, but thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.